Do you think that ISB can still make do with what the governor is proposing to give you?
Well, very good question. I mean, what we were faced with this year is that we're already prorating general state aid. General state aid has been the component of the budget that gets to the most districts in an equitable fashion. We've been able to hold firm all through the recession on those payments being timely, but we were prorating at 95% this year. We'll be prorating more deeply next year if we don't go with the board's recommendation. So that's why we propose the increase. Can we get by? Sure, but it would mean a deeper proration, and the districts are feeling the squeeze. So we felt the responsible thing to do was try to make sure that the proration doesn't slide. Remember, one of the beauties of the formula is it compensates for increased poverty in the state, and it also is compensating for lower property values, both of which we have in a recession. We'll be coming, I think, out of that next year, but we had clear reasons after looking at the revenue projections for making the recommendation we did, but we're fully cognizant of the fact that most agencies are taking cuts, so we're also very appreciative that we're not on that chopping block, at least from the perspective of the governor's office. We know it's just going to be a tough year, but we do have the facts to back up what we recommended and why, certainly.
Federal funding is declining by about 17%. Why is that? Is that related to the No Child Left Behind waiver?
It's really related to the fiscal situation at the federal level, and you know that they're, in some ways, worse shape. They have a much bigger budget deficit, and they're trying to find ways to address that.
Now, what will schools struggle with? I've been told that even over the past few years, art and music classes and what some consider ancillary or non-essential classes and school programs have been cut. What's left to cut, or can things be stretched?
It's a very good question. I mean, we don't ever want to see instruction compromised, so we always try to hold the line on that. Our budget has reduced by $600 million over the last 3 years. We saw the federal American Recovery and Reinvestment Act dollars disappear, and we know that was supporting personnel. We also know, though, that districts knew that was short-term money. So, many of them did plan by bringing in adjunct faculty and coaches so that they would be left with a stronger bench strength with their teaching force. There's many ways that they use that strategically, but we are concerned about art and music and the ancillaries going to the wayside. It's certainly a concern. I've heard that concern from many districts, and we want to make sure that we're thinking that through as we go forward. And that has to be done, as you know, over 800 times in Illinois as every local board considers what their situation is.
Aside from the budget, there is a push from some lawmakers to add an extra year of math to the curriculum, 4 years of math in high school. What do you think about that? Also, what do you think about the idea that carpentry, statistics, and other forms of applied math could count as that? In some ways, subjects that use applied math, geology, geography, carpentry, woodworking, seem to be getting more attention these days. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and I think we know that the increased years of math and math exposure help students who go to college to do better in college. I think the math-dependent courses that you laid out are a very good solution. Our neighbor directly to the east took that approach with their statute that they passed Indiana. Yeah, so going east on you, and they decided that was a good way to do it, and they listed a number of courses. We might, I'd like to see us move away from the Carnegie Unit framework, and we're now adopting Common Core standards. So you have states that have the same standards from state to state. We could be looking at a standards-based, even an integrated approach to teaching of math in the future. So I think whenever we contemplate this additional year, we certainly want it to be used well, but if we think around standards versus courses in the future, I think that will be a better place for us to end up.
And Senator Lighthover's proposal to find an extra $200 million this year and $400 or so million next year for ISB. You confident that might turn up, or planning on just working with what's being...
part of our job is to make sure that we're as best as possible informing school districts early all these changes, of course, districts would welcome, and those are both for general state aid. They would welcome that additional money and no doubt use it well. But we have to make sure that they know that it's not a sure bet just because it's proposed by any means, and they'll probably have to get by with what they have this year. And we always err on the conservative side with our messages so that districts are ready for the worst and can make it through these tough times.
And can districts, teachers, and parents expect the $6,119 per student? That's the foundation?
No, I mean the proration means that they did not get the 6,119 this year. They got closer to 57, 58, and if it's further prorated next year, that will go down yet more. So that's why when you're making personnel decisions, which they're going to be doing here in a month or two, they need to know on what projections so they can budget on the worst case, and then always add instructional staff or the staff that they need back when the times are better.
Okay, thanks much.
Thank you.